Hey, I'm down in the shop fooling around with guns, and I thought, hey, why not just crank one out, make a video quick here. Oh, I'm not gonna say that. Every single YouTube video starts with, it's gonna be a quick video. I'm not saying this is gonna be quick. Then they end up being a half hour long. This is gonna be a whatever length video it turns out to be, but I got a couple of 40 caliber Glocks here that you might be interested in, but only if you don't mind tabletop reviews, because I can't get to the range right now. It gets dark too soon after work, and on the weekends our clubs are full of it's sight-in days, so that's when they make their money. They charge $5 per gun to sight in deer rifles. But actually, this isn't just a tabletop review, it's a table saw review, because this actually is a nice height for doing this. I'll give you a closer look here. This is a second generation Glock 22 40 Smith & Wesson caliber, and this is a Glock 22 RTF2, and I just have this one out to compare because it's a third generation. The second generation, you can tell right away because it doesn't have the Glock tactical rail, and it doesn't have the thumb rest like you have on the third in Gen 4s. And you know, that thumb rest, it seems to me back, I think in the, I don't know, well, when the third gen came out, what was that, 97, something like that. It seemed to me the reason they put those on there had something to do with ATF importation rules of the day. Maybe it had something to do with the subcompacts, like they couldn't import them without that. I don't know. It doesn't seem like that would be the case because they're actually assembled in Smyrna, Georgia. But I remember reading something about that, and I couldn't find any reference to it online when I was looking for it. Okay, the other differences here. The finger grooves, that jumps out at you. There was a Gen 2.5 that had no rails, but it had finger grooves. A true Gen 2 will have a straight stock here. And some people don't like the finger grooves. If you have real small hands or real fat fingers, sometimes they don't line up. You know, that was made for the average person. For me, it happens to work perfectly. It's like it was custom made for me. And that's probably why I like these Glocks so much. They just seem to fit my hand really well. This particular Glock 22 is a police trade-in. It's got etching on the bottom of the trigger guard. I like police trade-ins because they almost always come with factory night sights. And it isn't that night sights are that big of a deal. It's just that it's a nice metal heavy-duty sight. Even if they're dim like these. This gun has a 3-letter serial number, so it was probably manufactured, I would guess, sometime around 1994. So, you know, early to mid 90s, because it still says 40SW on the slide, and that's something they went away from. As you may know, Glock and Smith & Wesson have had a long time rivalry, and there was, you know, the Sigma was a copy of the Glock. There was a lawsuit, and I believe money was exchanged there. I heard it both ways. I heard that Smith & Wesson didn't have to pay anything, and I heard that they not only had to pay a settlement, but they had to pay something like $9 for each gun. Each Sigma that they sold, they had to pay to Glock. And I don't know if that's true or not. But this is something that if you like the looks of that, you want to get one for yourself, because they're getting pretty hard to find. Just like the first generation Glocks. You know, when those dried up about 10 years ago, you don't really see them very often. Maybe even more than that. Sometime in the 90s, these things just started disappearing. This is a Glock 17. Really, that is the only first generation Glock, you know, other than the 17 and 18. There were prototypes of the 19, but there aren't really any available. I think there were maybe less than 50. Some people get these two confused. Even in the 40 caliber, this is considered a second generation. They never made it in a first generation, so that's the oldest Model 22 you can get. But if you have the original box, this Model 17, even a couple years ago, I've seen them on Gunbroker for in the $800 range. So they're actually becoming collectible. If you want one of these, you'll want to get it now, because they're gonna go up there. The way it is right now, a second generation in nice shape is fetching about the same as a brand new Glock, you know, at the online discount price. This particular one has a refinished, factory refinished slide and barrel. Yeah, the barrel's a little different looking than when they're new. It's a little flatter, a little more like a military parkerized color compared to how they were when they were new. And the slide is actually the same finish that they had back in the 90s, so that works out really nice. The newer Glocks, the third generation, you know, they were kind of shiny, and then the Gen4s, they kind of went halfway between. They're flatter again. That isn't real important to me. I wouldn't want this one with the shiny finish, because it wouldn't have been like it was when it was new, and all the serial numbers match. On these, the slide barrel and frame, which if you're collecting, that might be important to you. But I had this not only to compare, but also to mention that if you want a somewhat rare Glock that you're not going to be able to find again, the RTF2 is the you know, rough textured frame, second version. There really was no RTF1 that ever was marketed. It's got over 4,000 tiny little pyramids here that feel kind of like 80 grit sandpaper. And these are a little bit hard on the clothing. If you're carrying, it'll turn your t-shirt to lint pretty quick. Just like if you have grip tape or Talon grips, it feels about the same. The serrations here, though, the fish gills, they don't actually work very well. That's why people didn't like them. See, they only come up to right there, and they don't make it all the way to that transitional curve there in the top of the slide. And because of that, you know, when you're going over the top and you grip, that's really where you feel it. That's where it bites in on your hand. With the fish gills on the RTF2s, when you grab it, it feels like nothing's there. It just slides right there. And a lot of people agree that they put these on backwards. You know, it would have made more sense if they would cup your thumb, whether you do it like that or like that, instead of kind of spilling your grip out. But whether you like them for a functional purpose or not, or if you like how they look, I'm actually glad they went back to this. But I had to get one of these because you're not going to be able to get them, and I just wanted to have one in the collection because 10 or 20 years from now, that's going to be kind of a neat thing. You know, those will disappear. And the RTF2 frame is really nice to have because I can run this frame with any of my other uppers. I could put that on a competition Glock like my 35, and I could run that. Here, I could show you that right now. Just take the frame off my 35 and put it right here on this RTF2. And voila, that's how some people like to make the perfect competition rig. You know what's weird is if you go on Glock's website right now and you look up a Glock 34, the 9mm practical tactical competition model like this, they show under Gen 3, if you click the Gen, third gen or however they term it, they'll show this arrangement right here, only in the 9mm. This is a 40. With the RTF2 frame, it's definitely a third generation RTF2 frame because it doesn't have the multiple backstrap deal on it, and it doesn't say Gen 4 on the slide. And I called Glock with some questions this week. That was one of my questions, like, hey, can I get a Glock 34 and an RTF2? So I'd be totally interested in that. And she goes, no, sir. Well, sorry, I won't use her I won't use her accent, but she somewhat politely said, no, sir, she said that's a Gen 4. I didn't argue. So, and I went back to the website and double checked, and yeah. So, for some reason, they got a picture of this, and I've seen postings where other people in the forums have noticed that too. Like, hey, can you get one of those? Because there are guys out there that run these frames, and well, I guess we'll make that the end of the video. Hey, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you guys are doing okay. Take care. Hey, Sam. Hey. You just ruined a one-take YouTube video, but don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. No, it wasn't a farting video.